Hello, everybody, and welcome to Sunday Brunch. I am your host, RM. It is a beautiful Sunday in July here in New York. It is warm. It's really, really hot. It's so great to see all of you. Good morning. Good morning to Tom Jr. Jackson. Good morning to the Outcast Creative. Hope you all are well. Hello, Irene. Irene is with us. Good morning, Irene. Hope your day is going great. I know you said you'll be right back. Oh, you're back. Hey, Justin Channels. Haven't seen you for a while. Justin Channels, hope you are well. Says, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Yes, it is time for brunch, guys. It is absolutely time for brunch. Hey, Irene wants to know if we could pick anything for brunch. What would it be? It would be this. It would be my food that I haven't eaten yet. My eggs, and I have wonderful raisin toast, Irene. That's what I would have. Hope you are well. Certainly, hello to everybody, guys. Welcome to Sunday Brunch. Oh man, it is humid and hot, just the way I like it here in New York. I love summer days here. I went to the boardwalk, and you can tell I went to the boardwalk because my hair is kind of frizzy. Um, but it was such a beautiful morning, everybody. It's hazy, but boy, it's gorgeous out there. Really amazing. So glad that you all are here talking about food. You enjoy your food. Thomas Bartoldi is here. Says he made a breakfast sandwich and had coffee. Sounds great, Thomas. Sounds delicious. A great start to a Sunday brunch. Retro Nerd Girl is here. Hey, Retro Nerd Girl says good morning, everyone. Well, good morning to you, Retro Nerd Girl. Always a pleasure to see you here. Oh, and thanks for letting us know, Tom Jr. Jackson, that Let's Get Physical Media on the Burnettwork. Dieter's not going to be there because he's going out, but Robert will have a special guest, Bill Hunt from the Digital Bits. It's going to be great, guys. So make sure you check it out, everybody. It's going to be amazing. Mario Lopez is here. Hello, Mario. How are you today? I hope you are well. I hope you and your family are doing great. Sunday brunch, it's always great to see you. I know it's the afternoon where you are, but it's always great to see you, Mario, here on Sunday brunch. It's not the same without you. Also want to say good morning, hi there, and hello. Oh wow, there's a lot. You guys turn out big time today. Gary Bando Sandwich Worthington is here. Hi, Gary. Says ready for some chat fun. Yes, absolutely. We are so ready for that. It's going to be so amazing, guys. And yes, good morning. I'm assuming this is Lance, but if it's not, hello to the Outcast Creative channel. Absolutely love you guys so much there. And hello, Cool Gamer. Hey, Cool Gamer. How are things going? Outcast, is today your anniversary stream? Please let me know, because I think I remember you mentioning something about that. But Cool Gamer, so good to see you today. Hope you are well, Cool Gamer. I hope you're staying cool and are very cool also. Oh gosh, guys, please like and subscribe to Positive Fandom here on my channel. I could really use a few more subscribers just so I could keep my channel going. You kind of have to have a certain number, and I'm not near that number necessarily, but I just enjoy you guys so much. Enjoying everything. Yeah, I need to eat it. The Outcast Creative. It's delicious. It's delicious. I wish I could eat it, but I'm doing Sunday brunch. See, look, it looks delicious. I'm gonna have a little bit, but that's it. um, oh, thank you. Thank you. Irene says, keep that beautiful glow on your cheeks. Irene, thank you so much. Really enjoy you guys. It's so enjoyable to come here on Sundays and to talk to all of you. I just look so forward to this. Tom Jr. Jackson says, hey, don't forget, Lorraine and I will be on the Burnettwork on July 15th. It's a Saturday, guys, at 5 p.m. We're going to be looking at the greatest geek year ever. Have you guys heard about the greatest geek year ever? It's actually a documentary that's focused on 1982. And what makes 1982 so special is because it's considered the greatest geek year ever, because we got such amazing films, movies, everything. It's just a fantastic year. So I'm just going to show you guys just briefly on the greatest geek year ever. It just came out yesterday, and Robert is in this documentary. It's a 4-hour documentary. They're showing 1 hour every week. Lorraine and I are going to look at the first 2 hours next week on the Burnettwork. And guys, you don't want to miss it. If you want to watch along with us and talk about, if you remember 1982, was it your greatest geek year ever? I have a feeling it was. Guys, certainly do join us for that on the Burnettwork. Oops, I still have the PGS Trex banner in the background, don't I? Let me change it to the one I normally use. All right. So the greatest geek year ever. Guys, it is available. The first episode is available. You can watch it now, or you can watch along with Lorraine and I. We're going to be watching it in a watch party coming up. So certainly do check that out on the Saturday. And thank you, Tom, for showing that. I do appreciate that. There's so much to talk about looking at 1982 and what a year it was. And there's a picture of a kid who's kind of just sitting on his bed. And, you know, I probably was around the same age as that kid there. So it was kind of good to see them, you know, show a child versus, showing. Yes, Robert is in the documentary. There's 4 episodes. I believe he's in all 4. And and that's something to, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Yeah, I was very young at the time, so I couldn't really see some of the adult films, but certainly there was a lot in it that was great. And many of you talking about memories. Certainly it's something to go. I mean, Thomas says he's going to actually go to CW to watch this for 1982. Why not, guys? Yes, why not? Roller skates and a skateboard. Yes, I remember my bike, my roller skates, and I didn't have a skateboard, but I had my bike and roller skates, and it was wonderful. I absolutely loved it. Thomas says it reminds me of how cool it was to grow up in the 80s. It really was. So just keep in mind that we're going to be looking at that live on the Burnettwork on Saturday. This upcoming Saturday, Lorraine and I are going to be watching the first 2 episodes. Join us, and let's go ahead and have some fun with that. There, guys. Remember, it's a watch party for the first 2 episodes. Nathan is here. Nathan Trujillo. Hi, Nathan. Says, hey, Art and Positive Family. Yes, guys. Nathan, it's so good to see you. Hope you are well. Hope everybody is well here today. And guys, just as a reminder, we do have Lance from the Outcast Creative in the chat. Make sure you subscribe to the Outcast Creative. He just is doing his celebration. Lance, can you remind me again if it's your celebration today? I couldn't remember. Just let me know what's going on, and I would love to know. Joe Tyson is here. Hey, Joe Tyson. How are you today? Hope you are well. Oh, thank you, Thomas. You're so sweet. You're so sweet. Yeah. I think Ralphie is on a trip today, so he couldn't make it. But, we'll see if and when he can make it. I'm not quite sure what August is going to bring. But, this summer, we are all much busier than we normally are. And we have other things to do as well. I almost feel guilty keeping you guys here for 2 hours. But it's just so much fun to talk about all the things. There's so much to talk about. I can't even get into it. There's so much to talk about. Okay. I didn't get a chance to talk about everything I wanted to talk about last night, but certainly we're going to touch on some things, and we're going to talk about even more tomorrow. And ladies of the PGS tomorrow on the Burnettwork. It's so hot, my shirt is sticking to me. Okay, there we go. Guys, make sure you subscribe to Retro Nerd Girl's channel. Retro Nerd Girl just celebrated her anniversary. Guys, you will love Retro Nerd Girl's channel. If you like retro movies, if you like modern films, she has fantastic reviews, thought-provoking, in-depth. And not only that, she does live shows and watch parties as well. So make sure you check out Retro Nerd Girl's channel. Please do that, as well as Gary Bando Sandwich Worthington's channel. Make sure you go ahead and like and subscribe to Gary's channel, Gary Bando Sandwich Worthington's channel. It is here on YouTube, as well as Tom Jr. Jackson. Now, Tom is the narrator. He's my collaborator, and he's a good friend. Oh, look. Hey.
Hey, sorry I'm late.
Hey, no worries. I wasn't sure if you had told me you were available or you were not available, Russ.
I texted you just about 10 minutes ago, but yeah, I was stuck in traffic.
Hey, no worries. I hope you had a good trip. I hope things were cool. It was a good day.
It's been an amazing day. England just won the cricket. Ashes are still alive, which is awesome. So yeah, it's all good. and I was at Iron Maiden with my daughter on Friday night, which was epic. Yeah.
That sounds wonderful, Russ. I remember. I mean, it's so cool to go to a concert like that. Yeah, it's great to have you here, Russ. People have been asking about you. Um,
Well, apologies for being late.
as Irene said, where is Ralphie? Uh, or Gary. Irene, you're cracking me up, but she's just kidding, of course. Yes, this is my favorite one. She says, "Where is Ralphie?" She means you, Russ. I'm so glad you had a great trip. You're still wearing. Did you buy that shirt, or is this a vintage shirt,
No,
Russ?
I bought it at the thing because this is a Alexander the Great T-shirt, and Iron Maiden so rarely played Alexander the Great. In fact, many years ago, in 1986 or 87, I used to work in a recording studio in Chiswick in West London, and Bruce Dickinson, the singer out of Iron Maiden, lives in Chiswick. And the one day I was walking on my way to work, and Bruce Dickinson out of Iron Maiden came out of the cleaners, and I sort of literally walked straight into him. Of course, back in those days, in the 1980s, I had hair down here and the Saxon t-shirt, and it was full on metal. And I was like, oh my goodness, I couldn't believe it was Bruce Dickinson, and I invited him to the studio because there was another band playing there. Anyway, so Bruce Dickinson then proceeded to take me out to lunch, which was like amazing. And I asked him about this song because it's my favorite Iron Maiden song. And I said, "Are you going to play?" He said, it's just one of those ones that we're not too sure about. It's quite difficult to play live. Not that we couldn't do it, but it's, we're not sure." So, and they never played it. And over the past intervening 35 years or so, it's been one of the most requested Iron Maiden songs, and they've just never played it. But this tour is a sort of return to that tour. It was off the Somewhere in Time album in 1986, I think it was, and they sort of redid that tour with some extra songs from their new album Senjutsu, but it was mostly stuff from the Somewhere in Time album. And they played Alexander the Great, so it really was like a full circle journey for me because I love that song, and it was my favorite song on the album. In fact, my favorite Iron Maiden song, I would say. And to hear it live at Wembley, or sorry, not Wembley, at the O2 with thousands and thousands of other Maiden fans was awesome. But I think we lost our
No,
so
you
I'm.
didn't lose me. You didn't lose me. I'm actually just showing you specifically for a reason.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought I was on my own there for a minute. Yeah.
No,
So
no, you're not. No, I'm still here. I actually was trying to get your photograph up while you were talking of you in your with your long hair.
oh, with my long hair. Yeah, you've seen that one. Yeah, so that was what I looked like when I met Bruce anyway. And yeah, and he gave me backstage passes, which was awesome. So yeah, I had a great time there, and a great time with Sam, my daughter, seeing Iron Maiden on Friday. But that's not why we're here.
And yes, Irene, I was eating, but I did find the photo. I couldn't put it sort of like correctly, but I wanted to put it next to you as you were talking, Russ.
Hmm.
Your photo from many years ago when you were a metalhead artist, legitimate heavy metal artist.
Well, I don't really think I was much of an artist. To be honest with you, I wasn't very good. But yeah, that's my
Well, it
friend
doesn't
Jamie.
matter because it's so cool. And Russ, we were just talking a few minutes ago. I haven't said hello to everybody, and I do just want to kind of quickly say hello. Hello, Mikey Lito. How are you? As well as Stubble. Stubble, I did see that you were here. Who says he's been looking at he's been watching the Arnold doc and he's waiting for the topless Christmas stream. And of course, mine will be bikini top. Hello to you as well. Bonzo Kilborn is here. Hi, Bonzo. And also hello to I
They
think that's everybody. I'm sorry, go
they
ahead.
are going hard. It was honestly, Bonzo, it was one of the best gigs I've ever been to. I think because they played Alexander the Great, which was such a huge moment in my life. It's like a bucket list thing for me. But in general, it's up there. It's in my top 5 gigs of all time. They were fantastic. They're still rocking, man. They're really old now, but they can still do it.
Well, Russ, I don't know. I know that, when I saw that photograph of you, I remember the 80s very well. And there were a lot of really, to be honest with you, really nice guys who were metalheads. And I listened to a lot of metal during a certain period of my life, and certainly it is a special time. And this particular week, and I haven't actually shared this with you yet, but there's this documentary that's come out about 1982 being the greatest geek year ever.
Hmm.
And
Isn't
Robert
this what
happened,
Robert always talks about this about 1982, doesn't he? You know, the
yes,
Thing and Blade Runner and all whatever else was coming out that year. E.T. Um, what else was out?
um, a lot of
Yeah, a lot, a lot.
a lot. And I'm not necessarily. I mean, I think what's interesting about it is that during that time, metal was certainly. I'm not going to say, yeah, maybe it was at its peak. It was number one in the charts a lot, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think certainly here, 1981, 1982 was kind of the beginning. If I'm not going to get shredded by the metalheads, but it's sort of the beginning of the new wave of British heavy metal. That started, I would say, 1978, 1979 was the new wave of British heavy metal. It really started to take off in the early 80s. You know, you had Iron Maiden, Saxon, Judas Priest, Diamond Head, Mantis, Angel Witch, all these sorts of bands over here, and then America sort of picked up on it sort of 1983, 1984, and then both were going strong round 85 or so. But the British artists, with a fair few exceptions, but mainly sort of started to Americanize their music, like Def Leppard did. We had that album in 1987, Hysteria, which a lot of Def Leppard fans didn't like because it was too produced and to America, because there was two different styles of playing, certainly. And then after that, you got all the LA bands coming in, Poison and Motley Crue, obviously, and then a little bit later, Guns N' Roses and LA Guns and all that sort of thing. But yeah, peak 80s, it was great. Good old days. I was there for it. Actually, on the way back from Iron Maiden, we got talking to these two blokes at the train station. They were absolutely pissed out of their heads, and one of them had broken his leg at Donington a couple of weeks ago, and they were saying, "Oh, did you go? Did you go?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And he said, "Oh, I'm trying to get tickets," and we got talking, and you know, they were quite jealous because I'd seen all of these bands back in the day. He said, "Oh, you saw them all in their prime." I said, "Yeah, I did," but I'd rather be young, but I did get to see them all in their prime, I guess.
Yeah, you're very lucky to see them in their prime. I saw kind of a lot of these artists after their prime, but it was still great to see them in the 80s and in the 90s. And even though this documentary talks about 82 and 81, there was this movie called The Decline of Western Civilization.
Oh yeah, that's such a great film.
Yeah, and it primarily focused on, I guess, maybe more punk rock, but it was a great film. And then followed
Oh
by,
no, there was two. There was the
yes,
Decline of Western
followed by
Civilization Part One, and then Part Two was the Metal Years.
exactly, in 1988, followed by The Decline of Western Civilization Part 2. And that one mainly focused on metal. But what's interesting is that even in 81, there was still a lot of metal going on.
Mm.
So, they chose to focus on, I guess, maybe more punk in that initial film. But I kind of associate those two films with, kind of the 80s very heavily because of the hits that came out, especially in the time period that this Greatest Geek Year Ever documentary is focusing on. It was really focused on metal music. There was a lot in a lot of films, Russ, right? Um,
Yeah, and there were some films that specifically sort of trumpeted it. There was one of those Italian movies. What's his name? Dario Argento. Um, and he did a film called Demons, and that featured a load of heavy metal songs. I remember it because Saxon were on the soundtrack, and I was a huge Saxon fan back in the day, so I had to watch that one. Demons 1 and 2 had all of that, but yeah, no, it was a thing. It was definitely, there was heavy metal horrors and things like that.
yeah, it really was. And also, I'm sure in a lot of these films here in the Greatest Geek Year Ever, there's a lot of metal as well. Probably from, maybe there's even some Iron Maiden. I would venture to guess that there probably is at least one Iron Maiden song in one of these films, or one of the geek films that we're talking about, which is interesting because I think there is some kind of interesting association between Hollywood films and obviously heavy metal music in a lot of cases. Lugnut6 is here, says hi. to the sensual diamond lady in red, and the rustacular one, the rustacular. Salute, salute. Yes. Hello. And yes,
Salute.
guys. Yeah. Thank you so much, Slugnuts. Here, Thomas Bertoldi says trapped in the TV like poltergeist. Yeah. Something to think about, guys. I'm so just excited about all the stuff that's coming out. And Bloodsport 1 is here.
Oh, the man with the best handle on the internet.
Certainly certainly an amazing day. Bloodsport 1, glad to see you. Justin Channel says, what kind of Christmas stream? And you know, oh, Mighty Orbots is also here. Hi, Mighty Orbots.
Hello.
Absolutely, guys. Don't forget that Stubble and I have a Wheel of Time review right here on Positive Fandom, and we're going to be doing Wheel of Time coming up this year. We just did a fabulous review on Andy Wer's the Project Hail Mary on the Burnettwork. So please do check that out. And guys, please like and subscribe to the channel. I'm so grateful to all of you for your support going forward. So I did want to mention Thalia Mayer is here. Hi, Thalia.
Hello, lovely.
So good to see you, Thalia. Welcome. I hope you are well this morning. And also, don't forget that Russ's Gladiatrix series books are on Amazon. Check out Russ at russwhitfield.com, and you can purchase his books on Amazon. Here's the link, and you can follow Russ for his Gladiatrix series. It's 3 books. It's an amazing series. You absolutely want to check it out, guys.
Thank you, Tom. I meant to say, I don't know if I said last week, but Irene was looking for copies, and I went under the stairs. I couldn't find a copy of the first one, and I've only got a few left of the second one, which I don't really want to give out because I've only got a limited supply myself. But they're quite cheap to buy now, secondhand. So I'm sorry, I can't give you a free one because I don't have one to give, unfortunately. I apologize.
Well, make sure you get your copy. Thalia says happy morning and Sunday to everybody. Happy same to you, Thalia. And guys, I just wanted to remind you that Lorena and I are going to be reviewing episodes 1 and 2 of the 1982 Greatest Geek Year Ever on the Burnettwork Live this Saturday. I think it's from 5 to 7. We're going to be doing that review and watching it. We're going to be watching it live. Guys, come and join us if you haven't watched it.
So, Aram, is this a series or a movie now? This 1982?
It's actually 4 1-hour shows.
Oh, sweet. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, you can get it. Looks like, where is it? Is it on Netflix or Amazon or what?
It's on CW. The CW
oh, okay.
app.
Oh, well, I'll have to find some way of watching that then. I wonder how. Yeah, looking forward to it.
The first episode is available, everybody. See, I'm going to get my last bite in. Okay. The first episode is available, everybody. And by the way, we are going to be doing a watch party of episodes 1 and 2 on Saturday. So we're going to be looking at 2 episodes on one day. Join us if you want to. Let's go ahead and talk about it and have fun. Thank you, Thomas. It's going to be fun to talk about. This is why we're doing it. We wanted to see these documentaries, and it's fun for the community to meet and watch it together and just talk about all those good times, right? And Luminara 843 is here. Luminara, the queen of the 1-6-figure flex, is here. Luminara, it is such a joy to have you here this morning. I hope you were well, guys. I hope you're checking out Luminara on the 1/6 scale man network as she does her figure flexes with her 1/6 scale figures and so much more. Luminara, such a pleasure to see you here this morning. Bloodsport 1 says, what you chewing on? I just had my breakfast, guys, and it's delicious. It's scrambled eggs with like a piece of raisin bread, which I love. Stubble says 1982 isn't available anywhere here. I'm sorry, Stubble. Stubble, I'm really sorry. I didn't know that you couldn't get it. I'm really sorry, Stubble. So, Russ, does that mean that you won't have access?
I know the one. Perhaps someone. How do I say it without being? There are certain places you can go to, and I'm going to go check it out. See if it'll more than likely be available on the certain place, and I'm happy to share that with everybody or anybody offline.
Absolutely.
The address.
And I also wanted to mention to you guys, Irene mentions The Thing. It's a great movie. We watch at least once every other year.
It's still horrific, isn't it, Irene? It's still horrific. That bit with the dogs upsets me to this day because obviously it's the dogs, but it's just horrific. It is so horrific. It, all right, that they're special effects, but it still holds up so well. It's just a masterpiece.
It really is. And I did want to mention that I'm going to be doing a PGS moving image with Cameron Pasha and Catherine Cook on the Thing, the cinematic IP on the Burnettwork. And it's going to be focusing on the 1951 movie, The Thing. It's also going to be focusing on the 1982 John Carpenter thing, as well as I think it's 2011 prequel to the 1982 one. So do check that out.
I got a question about that one because that got so much shit when it came out. Like it got loads and loads of hate because obviously it's never going to be as good, right? It's just not going to be as good. I haven't actually seen it, and I'm kind of wondering, as with many of these things, it gets loads of hate when it comes out, and then retrospectively people look back and actually that was a really good part of the mythos, a bit like they did with the first, the prequel trilogy of Star Wars, like, George Lucas ruined my childhood and all that stuff. And then sort of 10 years after the event, you look back on them, they were pretty good. It's kind of like the Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny effect, where everybody thought that, Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls was literally the worst thing that they'd ever seen in their lives, and only to discover that now, Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls is like some sort of masterpiece compared to what we were served up last time.
It's a good point. Yeah, I don't know. I think that there is some value in all three of the films, Russ. And the biggest change, of course, is that 1950 to 1982 jump. But for a film from 1951, for what it's worth, was a fun watch. They had, as I was saying last night, they had this great pyrotechnic stunt where the man is on fire. And in 1950, that was a big deal, like a big kind of, stunt that is very dangerous. So for them to say they're going to try and light somebody on fire in a movie, it just sounds very radical, I think, for 1950. Like now it doesn't sound radical, but can you imagine saying something like that in 1950? You're going to set somebody on fire? Like that must have been such a scary.
I remember him stumbling around, but yeah, no, a lot of those older, we tend to sort of not watch them because they're so old. But I remember a couple of years ago, I watched Somebody Up There Likes Me, starring Paul Newman, which is a biopic of Rocky Graziano. It was such a brilliant film. It's just so good. I mean, obviously, the choreography isn't sort of, Rocky IV level of awesome, but still a brilliant movie.
Absolutely. And this is very true. And guys, don't forget, please check out Stubbles and my review of Project Hail Mary on the Burnettwork. It's such a great book. It's the author of The Martian, Andy Weir. You don't want to miss it. And Stubble and I have much more coming up. We also have Keely Chow today. Hi,
there
Keely.
she is. Every time I think of her now, I just think of the football team, and I have to share, Keely, England just won the cricket, so the Ashes are not yet over. We won, we smashed them. It was brilliant, and I listened to it on the radio. I loved it. Brilliant. I was driving back. I was late, Keely.
I'm so happy that they won, Russ, because I know that you're a fan and you watch every week, and this show really pretty much interrupts your watching time. And I do feel a little guilty about that because, a Sunday is a day where you want to go ahead and just enjoy your day. But, I, of course, with the show, am interrupting that experience.
Oh no, that's fine. I was up early this morning working anyway, so but I had to go to my stepdad's, and the traffic was really bad coming back. That was all. I thought I was going to be. So I saw I got a load of text from you, but I was driving, so I couldn't read the text.
Exactly. And I did just want to show you guys. So when we're going to be doing this watch party, and I'm going to be silent about it now. After I just share it, Lorraine and I are going to be doing watch party for the best geek year ever, 1982, the first 2 episodes. It's going to be on the Burnettwork. Here it is here. And I just wanted to show it, guys. So don't forget, if you want to talk about anything in the 80s or 1982, it's fine too. I enjoy seeing all that fun chatter. We're going to be talking about all those things we love from the 80s because it's going to be an 80s discussion, right, Russ? You can't avoid talking about other things. It's true, it's 82, but go ahead and join us. You want to talk about other things from the 80s, you certainly should do that. It's going to be a fun watch party. So please make sure you check in on Saturday. It says, what time does it say? It's at? I can't read it all of a sudden. 5 p.m. Eastern on Saturday on the Burnettwork. So please do check it out. I can't wait to do this watch party, Russ. And it's not, obviously there's no surprises because we've seen almost all of these films and things, everything. But guys, if you show up to the watch party and you watch along with us and you want to talk about other 80s things, please go ahead and do that. It is supposed to be a fun, enjoyable documentary about why the 80s was so cool. And I'm not going to be like, well, that was not 1982. I don't care what year it was. If it was in the 80s, it's good enough for me. Let's go ahead and have some fun with that. So Bloodsport 1 says, Raisin Bread, I haven't had that in a while. Yeah, it's good. And it was tiny. It's like Pepperidge Farm raisin bread. So my mother loves raisin bread and she has to have her raisin bread. Okay. Thomas says it gives us a feeling for our childhood and Poltergeist scares the crap out. Yes.
That was 1982 as well, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. This is I haven't memorized every single year that these films came out. I don't know all the films that came out in 82. All I know is it was an 80s film and it was a big deal, that film, and it was scary. And I wasn't
The one
allowed
that
to
scared
watch
me
it.
out of Poltergeist was the one with the preacher, and he used to walk around the house singing "God is in His holy temple," and he just looks so demonic. He's like, but there's a sad part to this as well. He looked like a sort of living corpse. He was like so thin, and he just looked really evil. And I found out years later, the man who was playing the evil preacher was actually, he had terminal big C at the time. It was really tragic, and he was actually didn't go on much longer after that film, but it was his last performance and he put everything into it, and he was perfectly cast as a sort of cadaverish villain. But yeah, he terrified me, that guy. I remember having nightmares about it, and I was in my 20s and it still gave me nightmares.
That's a good point. I mean, it's still, it's the memory of it is still there. And that's the type of stuff that I like to hear about, how much something scared you or you enjoyed something. I mean, that's why we're here, just to kind of enjoy each other's thoughts and feelings about these movies. And let's, that's the fun part about it. And gee, hey Tom, is Anthony here in the chat? Did I miss him? I didn't see Anthony, but this is a 6 Scale Mafia, Anthony's channel. If he is here, Anthony, if you are here, good morning to you. Do I see his name here? I guess maybe he is here, guys. Anthony, if it is you who is here, I didn't see your name, but welcome to the channel here. Yes. No, I don't see his name, but that's okay. That's all right. 6 Scale Mafia's channel. Anthony, you guys know Anthony does the 1/6 scale figures.
He's not here. Tom said he's not here.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought maybe he was because you put the 6 Scale Mafia link in, but that's okay. Nice to think about that for sure. Thank you. Retro Nurgle says, I love it.
I didn't know Retro was here. Hello, lovely. My resident crush. How are you?
And also, who else said, I've got like this raisin bread thing going. It's delicious. It's delicious. Stavros is here.
Hi, Stavros. Oh, hey, Stavros. How's it going, man?
Stavros says Asteroid City was funny as heck.
Yeah, what a cast. What a cast. How much did that cost them? Well, I suppose they all did it for nothing because they all wanted to work with Wes Anderson, but I just couldn't believe it. I was in the cinema, come out watching The Flash, and I saw the poster for it, and I had to do a double take. It's like, any star you can think of was in that movie. It was crazy. And
Scarlett Johansson is in it, right, Russ?
Yeah, I think name one. They're all in it. It was like the cast was sort of like that. It was huge and so many famous people. But then again, there was a zombie movie like that that had Adam Driver and Bill Murray and all these like really, really famous people in it. It was like a no budget film, but they all kind of wanted to work with this one auteur director, and I can't remember who did it. Look out, Irene's got a bone to pick with me. What's that? I don't know. What have I done? Got a bone to pick with you. My name's got 2 L's on the end of it.
Well, I'm going to get to that in a second, and I'm sorry I wasn't at that point there, but I did want to mention that Mikey Lito also has a review for Joyride. I know Mikey Lito's seen it, and I know for a fact that Tom Jr. Jackson has seen it and has said it's amazing. So just keep that in mind. Joyride is another recommendation. And I am going to be doing the Thing review, Irene. So when you see it, it's going to be on July 29th on the Burnettwork at 6 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be looking at the Thing. Now, what were you talking about? Where's that? Oh, wow, it's farther down. Yes, she has a bone to pick with you. Every Sunday you claim retros. Oh, okay.
I was on her live chat the one time. I was gobbing off about the Snyderverse, and nobody on that chat knew who I was, and I and I must have come across like such an arse hat. But I was like, yeah, fucking blah, 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 blah. And I thought, oh my, I must have thought, oh my god, there's a fucking Snyder loon in the in the chat. It was me. But yeah, no, I had a great time on that one. It was totally random as well. I think I'd finished work early or something like that. Something had happened, and I just turned on the YouTube. I was listening to it because I listen to music when I'm at work, and I just was going to turn it off, and I saw Retro was live, and I thought, fuck, I've never, I don't really go onto live streams at all, actually, and I thought, oh fuck it, I'll go on, and they were talking about Snyderverse, and I just jumped in, and Retro Nerd Girl was so sweet and so lovely to me, and has become my resident crush ever since. There you go. That's that story, Irene.
I love that. I love that story, guys. And Mighty Orbot says Petridge Farms. That's the raisin bread. Yes, it is Petridge Farms raisin bread. And guys, make sure you like and subscribe to Retro Nerd Girl's channel. Check out her latest video on the 82's Dark Crystal, which was one of the best practical effects movie on puppetry I've ever seen in my life. It's so amazing. Check it out on Retro Nerd Girl's channel. Oh, Stavros says, when will you activate members on your channel? I think maybe once I get to about 3,000 members. Right now, I have 1,380 members. So I'm not going to start to do memberships until I have a few more members for understandable reasons. I feel like I need a bigger membership group. What do you think, Russ, about memberships for the channel?
Oh, I don't know, man. I only work here. YouTube algorithmic things are not something I know a lot about. I think you probably called it about right. I mean, it might seem, if it was me, because I'm British, it might seem a little bit forward right now. But when you've got like a subscriber base of 3,000 plus, then yeah, that's absolutely fine, because then you're getting to the stage where you need to be doing more and more work to facilitate that user base, and consequently you would need more, a bit of financial support over and above what you get from adverts and all the rest of it.
Absolutely. And guys, as you know, I'm working on 2 channels at the same time too, which is also a very different situation. Although there are a lot of people who work on 2 channels, but it just so happens that my primary channel here, Positive Fandom, I have 1,380 subscribers, and I think 3,000 would probably be when I get there. So I'm not even quite halfway there. So Mighty Orbot says, so why don't we help RM get to 3,000? Hey, y'all. Yes, Mighty Orbots. Yes, please help me. Help me get to 3,000 subscribers. I really would appreciate it. And thank you for the kind offer and the support. Certainly. Oh, really, Mikey Lito? Really? And you yourself on your Mikey Lito live channel waiting for memberships as well? Yes. Oh my gosh, guys. So Nathan says, I'm willing to be a member of your channel. Thank you so much, Nathan. You know what? I'll start to set things up. Maybe I'll do it if I get to 2,000. But I do really need to get more subscribers, I think, to make it substantial and worthwhile for this viewing community. So certainly that's something to think about. And thank you for bringing it up. I so appreciate it. And Retro Nerd Girl says, you guys are so sweet. Well, so are you, Retro Nerd Girl.
True say.
And Tom says, I work on many channels. Yeah, absolutely, Tom. You understand how this is. And Mikey Lito says, I'm waiting for subscribers. Yes. Guys, make sure you subscribe to Mikey Lito Live. Make sure you subscribe to his channel. As I said, he just got a review out of Joyride. So make sure you go to his channel and check out that review. Bonzo Coburn says, the people who want to support you don't care about sub numbers. I say, let's help you now. Why wait? No time like the present. Thank you, Bonzo. Thanks so much. I appreciate that. I really appreciate the support and could use more subscribers I admit I haven't necessarily been pushing for that, but I need to really do that. So thank you, Bonzo, for your support. And Stubble McShave says, I'd push the subscribe button again, but I don't think it would help.
And I might unsubscribe you if you push it again, won't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it really yeah, it really would. And certainly Thomas Bertoldi says Tom is the YouTube mod godfather. Absolutely on that one. Mikey Lito's channel is here. Make sure you like and subscribe to Mikey Lito's channel, and make sure you watch his Joyride review, which, by the way, Mikey Lito says, I thought of you a lot during Joyride. Very interesting. Mikey Lito. Love to hear things like that. Irene. Irene saying, please make sure you subscribe, please. Really, Tom? Did you really think of me during Joyride as well? That is so funny. Oh my gosh, that's great. I love hearing stuff like this. And Thomas Bertoldi, I'm assuming you're talking about Tom Jr. Jackson, the godfathering goof. He is. We are all goof people. So that is Tom's slogan, guys, if you've ever remembered that from going forward. Now, Russ, there's a lot to talk about. I've been talking a lot, and I admit that. But Russ, there's a lot going on. And one of the things that is so unusual has to do with this film. And I sent you the link about it. I don't think you could have possibly had any time to even look at it.
No, not at all. I was literally in the car and I just came up and logged in.
Yeah, so it's impossible for you to even look at this. But the first thing is about Tom Cruise. And in this Deadline article, he talks about wanting to continue making Mission Impossible movies into his 80s. And he almost compares himself. I don't know whether he's comparing himself or whether the article is comparing him to Harrison Ford. I'm assuming he is, and I'm sorry about it. It shouldn't be that. It should be lower. Tom Cruise wants to continue making Mission Impossible movies into his 80s, like Harrison Ford with Indiana Jones. So I thought this was very interesting. It's clear Tom Cruise would wants to continue to make films. I don't know if I think that. Oh, thank you so much, Stubble. Thank you so much, Stubble. I so appreciate that for a 50 kroner. I'm assuming it's kroners, but it may not be. But thank you so much, Stubble, for your support. It says, until you get memberships, here's a few bucks for a cup of coffee to go with the brunch. Thank you so much, Stubble. This helps me out tremendously. Thank you for supporting the channel and for being such, a good friend as well, doing all those reviews with me. I so appreciate it. And certainly, this makes a big difference to me, being able to continue with the channel and to bring shows like this, or even to do other work as well. Double, thank you so much. I love doing the show, and I do want to continue doing the show. And in order for me to do the show, I do need things like this. Thank you so much. This is going to make such a difference for me. It's Danish money. Yes. Thank you, Outcast Creative. I'm assuming. But thank you so much, Stubble, so much. I so appreciate it. It's so generous of you. You didn't have to do that. It's so appreciated. So Russ, what do you think about Tom Cruise committing himself to working into his 80s? Right
I don't know. I mean, I haven't read the article, but it could be. You got to know the context, haven't you? Like if they ask you, "Oh yeah, I want to do it till I'm 80," like Harrison Ford, you could just it'll just roll out there. I don't know. Maybe 80 is going to be the new 60. I mean, look at Tom Cruise. He looks like he's 45, not even. He's so fit. He's so strong. I don't see why not. And I've yet to see this new Mission Impossible film. I've been a busy boy lately, but I really do want to see it because, by and large, those films have consistently delivered ever since the 90s. Like everybody sort of says the third one is the worst one, and I think every franchise is allowed a dip. I mean, even Fast and Furious is allowed one. Back in the day was allowed one bad one, which again was the third one. But since then, they've gone from strength to strength. They've sort of embraced their own madness in the same way that Fast and Furious did, but Fast and Furious had to get bigger and bigger and bigger and more outlandish. Whereas I think with Mission Impossible, Tom Cruise just takes more and more and more insane risks. I can imagine he's got like a Rolodex or whatever, like ridiculous ways I could almost die making a movie, and just like pulls one out. Oh, great! Now I'm going to ride a motorbike off a cliff and jump off a parachute, or I'm going to sellotape myself to a side of an airplane, or I'm going to jump onto a moving train. This guy is really, really amazing, and I think, and I must have said this before, um, therein is the difference between knowing you're watching a special effects extravaganza and knowing you're watching a real guy doing real stuff. Now, obviously, there's lots of CGI in all these movies, but the USP of Mission Impossible movies is Tom Cruise doing ridiculous shit. In fact, Tom Cruise is now, his new USP is reinvented himself, if you like, because nobody talks about that film, The Mummy, do they? Which was a complete disaster with him in it. He's done lots of other things, but when he's doing these action movies, um, him putting himself on the line is kind of the point of going to see the film, because in Top Gun that was him flying those airplanes. In Mission Impossible that's him jumping out the window or jumping off the bike or whatever it is. But as to the original point of the question, well, I don't know, because we don't know how fast medical science is advancing. All I can say is Tom Cruise is now 60, isn't he? But he looks like he's 45. And probably is 45 in terms of his physical age, because he's so fit and strong and training all the time and all the rest of it. So he's still able to do this stuff. I mean, I was watching a trailer of it. He's doing the Tom Cruise run, and I don't think I'd be able to keep up with him. And I'm younger than he is. So, yeah.
It's very insightful. And I also want to thank Irene Jobson for the $5 super chat. Says, for the billowing locks. Thank you so much, Irene. I so appreciate the super chat. It is so generous of you. Thank you for doing this. This really does help me. And it's just so wonderful that you're showing this support. Thank you, Irene. Russ, it's very interesting because when I saw the Dial of Destiny, I didn't necessarily want to focus on this too much, but they had Harrison Ford in boxer shorts. And he's 80. And I've got to tell you, I've seen a few elderly gentlemen, let's say maybe 80 might be going into the realm of being elderly. I've seen a few elderly gentlemen in their boxer shorts. And Harrison Ford didn't look bad. Like, he was still pretty fit for 80, Russ. Mm-hmm. So that surprised me, because I wasn't quite sure what we were going to say. From the scene, he's in a recliner, and you see the back of him. So he pops out of the recliner and he's in boxer shorts, and it's meant for you to look at his body. There's no other reason that they did that other than just to show what great shape he is in at 80. That's why they showed that. So you get to see his body, and there are there's quite a lot of films where Harrison Ford has to show his body.
And that was him, was it? He wasn't CGI. He wasn't CGI'd to look sort of a little bit better.
It was definitely an older man's body, a very pretty fit older man's body. I don't believe it was CGI, but I don't know for sure. I don't want to believe it's CGI, Russ. I don't want to believe.
And was the film itself as awful as certain segments of the internet have been saying, or was it just okay, or was it as irritating as some people have said? Because I hadn't seen it yet, and I've got no intention of watching it. I'm not interested, but.
Well, I personally liked it better than the Crystal Skull. But it was, for me, the biggest thing that I think they made a mistake in portraying him as an academic that nobody wanted to be around. At least that's how it came over. And for someone, the story is about archaeological discovery and adventure. So they have to make academics exciting, and not a situation where they made it seem as if no one really wanted to be around him. He's got students in the classroom who are falling asleep. And I'm like, this is not true. This is not a true representation of academics who do archaeology. These guys are excited about their work, and into their 80s and 90s, they're excited, because I don't know about you guys, but I've seen tons of documentaries of older academics who are going, especially those Egyptologists, and they're like literally on walking with canes and stuff. And they're talking about how excited they are about finding out about Tutankhamun's latest discovery and why, we have to rethink everything. And these guys are excited in their older years. They don't stop. So it's unrealistic to show him at Hunter College, which, by the way, I've attended myself. Nobody's stepping into Hunter College and falling asleep in class. You're there because you want to be there. It's a part of City University of New York. So I don't buy the he's in class and no one's interested and he's so ho hum. No, these guys get huge grants and money in their older years, and they're spending that money on their labs. They're taking students out on trips in the summer and research in the field. That's what he would be doing. It would have been an exciting time for him, even more so. And I think that's one thing that didn't represent him truthfully. People would be dying to take courses with this professor, someone who has found.
Isn't it just to show? Isn't it? Isn't this part of what people have been complaining about? And it's a sort of like the not so subtle denigration of this character in order to elevate another character.
Yes, and I want to show some of these comments, Russ. Thomas Bartoldi says Tom Cruise will just wear a face of his younger self at 80.
Like in the movie, right? In Mission Impossible.
I like his mature face, honestly. I like a man with experience. Retro Nerd Girl, this is really, really interesting, Retro Nerd Girl. If the Mission Impossible stories are good, it could work well into the 90s if he wanted. You know what I'm thinking, Retro Nerd Girl. If we have to see Harrison Ford in his boxer shorts at 80, will we see Tom Cruise in his at 90? This is I mean, this is really this is where my mind is going. I'm sorry, guys. That's what I'm thinking. Tom Cruise has kept himself physically fit, as you said, Russ, and he wants to continue this. It's amazing. I don't know. Stubble says when Tom is 80, he'll be replaced by a CGI AI version of him. He'll sit back and collect the royalties for likeness. Yeah, that's a thought. I think that they'll continue to use his likeness. He still looks good. Bloodsport 1 says Tom Cruise 80s, 90s star still going in 2023. Yes.
Absolutely.
Stavros says Mission Impossible is what Charlie's Angels and Oceans tried to be. Tom knocked out full casts. He is so good. And I'm sorry, I don't know why this pop-up is so persistent, although I like these pants. And Retro Nerd Girl says Tom could actually become the director and have a team he's guiding through the missions. Yeah, it could work. He could be the person running the show and be in charge. I agree. I would watch that. He'd show up in his suit,
No, that's right. I mean, that's kind of the way to bring new blood into it without denigrating old blood. So we'll still go and we'll still watch because there's always a chance, and he might show up in an action scene at the end or what have you, And then again, I think Liam Neeson now, he's on the wrong side of 60s, isn't he? He's approaching 70, and he's always doing action movies. I know it's become a bit of a cliche, of like Liam Neeson doing, Jerry actioners, but he's still going strong. And Tom Cruise, no reason why not. And I like that idea. Yeah, passing the torch, but not letting go of the torch, but holding the torch with the younger kids.
Absolutely. Irene says she watched Mission Impossible 3 with her daddy in theater. Yeah. It's been so long. I remember going to the movies with my dad as well. I remember seeing, a lot of films with him. It's especially The Exterminator. All right. So, this is something to think about. And I think, looking at this, Bonza says boxer shorts is a young man's game. Did I imagine that scene? Those of you who saw The Dial of Destiny, he was in boxer shorts, an 80-year-old man in boxer shorts. I mean, you don't see that a lot. And they wanted to show off his physique on purpose, Russ. I was surprised by that. But let's see how Tom does. I think that Tom is in a different position, maybe even when it comes to making movies that Harrison Ford is in, because Tom controls a few more of, let's say he has more cards at the table, or I don't even know if I'm saying this correctly. Does he have more control than Harrison Ford did at 60?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Tom Cruise has to be sure himself. So he's running his own show, which is why he got so furious during the COVID thing, because a lot of it isn't studio money, a lot of it is Tom Cruise's money. So that's why he was so angry. And I thought it was a bit overwrought, because as we all now know, COVID was a complete lie, as has come out in the British tribunal about it. It was nonsense. The whole thing was just bollocks. But I could see why he was irritated at the time. Yes.
All right, and I also want to thank Mikey Lito for this generous super chat. Thank you so much, Mikey Lito. I so appreciate this. It's very kind of you to give me this $5 super chat. I so appreciate the support. Uh, Mikey Lito says here, I can't. What's going on with my screen? The students were bored because everybody else was at the ticker tape parade and they were forced to be in class. That's the way it looked. Good
That's
point.
it. It's interesting, Mikey, because you see, I should also just say, COVID itself wasn't, but the reaction to it was like it's all come out in our tribunal now. What they did was not copacetic; they were just making shit up. But the thing itself was real. Yeah, this is see because I haven't seen it, Mikey, so I'm not going to sit here and cast dispersions on that movie, right? But I was really asking our room that question because the reactions from certain segments of the certain commentators now, it's just is so hysterical about anything that comes out ever. And I often think to myself, if I was to listen to certain commentators and dub over um, whatever the latest movie is off a stream from 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago, a year ago, it wouldn't make any difference because all we're getting is the same thing. It's woke, it's terrible. The main character's been denigrated and it's been replaced by an irritating female. And that's that. So to hear your comment here is like, well, no, maybe that was the point. I don't know because I haven't seen it. So that's hence my interest.
Absolutely. And thank you again, Mikey Lito, for the support for the $5. Thank you so much. It's so kind of you. Um, Nathan Trujillo says, I agree with Art. Indy would have been planning his next adventure and mentoring the next generation. Yeah, he totally would have been doing that. And I think, yeah, I think it would have been interesting to see that. And, kind of look at this film, let's say in the next few years, Russ. I don't think another indie film is coming, but who knows? Um, Nathan says Tom Cruise broke his foot during his stunt for the last Mission Impossible. The dude is willing to risk life and limb to make things happen. And Thomas Bartoldi, of course, talking about risky business.
When he slides across the.
He wants to see Tom review the film in his 80s. Certainly was very interesting. Yeah, this actually kind of disturbs me a little bit, seeing Tom Cruise hanging from cords, and I don't like to see him doing that. However, I watched it, but it really does make me scared for him.
Well, you're right, but there is this thing, like Buster Keaton and all those people were doing all that stuff, literally risking Harold Lloyd like dangling off that clock and all that sort of thing. And this is sort of like part of movie magic that you remember in the 90s when like George Lucas went CGI nuts and he's just like we can do anything we want now. We've got all of that, and it almost seems to have come full circle. And people don't really want that anymore. They don't want these like fully unrealized environments that is just completely not real, and everybody knows it's not real. And there's something to be said for knowing that the person's doing it. Yeah, it's like I always talk about these martial arts films, and why it upsets me that martial artists are now getting sort of phased out because we can just do quick cuts and jump cuts. There is something about the craft and the skill, be it acting or the stunts that they're doing, cricket, boxing, rugby, football, whatever it happens to be, knowing that the people are actually putting themselves out, that they had to train, that they're training to entertain, be they athletes or actors. There's something great about that, and I think people are hearkening back to that, aren't they? They kind of want all that stuff back again.
Yeah, I agree. I think they do want all that stuff back again, and I'm not quite sure how or why. There's an issue as to why we're not kind of seeing that.
Yeah, Thomas says he was right. Yeah, it is getting crazy. They're having to up the ante, but they're not upping. Like I said earlier on, Thomas, they're not upping the ante in the way that Fast and Furious had to, which was they had to get more and more ridiculous as they went on. This is like just Tom Cruise doing not more and more dangerous stuff, but they have to think of like, well, what can we do that's going to be out of this world? We've done the parachute and we've done the motorcycles, and you're right, they just have to keep topping it, and they do.
Yes, absolutely. And I did want to mention here the comment here that Nathan says, I want to see Russ hanging off a skyscraper in Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 2.
Yeah, because I'll be Henry Cavill's body double, right?
I have no idea, but certainly something to think about, the risk that Tom is taking. I don't want him to really hurt himself. And thank you, Mikey Lito. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. I certainly do appreciate it. Um, oh, this is interesting. Mikey Lito says, not at all. Plus, Art hasn't missed super chats usually. Yes, I usually don't miss them. There's only once where I missed a super chat, and it's because I ended a show. And at the very end, someone sent in a super chat, and I didn't know that that
Yeah, and
was.
you spent about 6 weeks trying to track him down, didn't you?
Yeah,
Know
I
who'd sent
did.
it. Yeah.
I did. I felt terrible. So Stavros says he thinks that the boy who's the thief in the movie stole the show. Yeah, maybe he did. He was certainly a little cutie. He's a cute kid. I see him acting in a lot more films. And Darth Vader says Waller Bridge is irritating. I didn't think she was. I think she was better than this film. I don't think she needed to be in this film at all. I think she could use her own film. She's that talented. She doesn't need this franchise. You know, she should be making her own films and becoming a star on her own. She doesn't need Indiana Jones.
Oh,
But that's how I
there's
look
two
at it.
parts to that, isn't it? You know, Indiana Jones doesn't really need her either. You know that I imagine that he should have really been front and center in his own movie, and if he was not, then that's not what I've been led to believe from the reviews that I've read. But um, are they lining her up to be a replacement?
But I don't know. It's a good question. I
Well,
don't know.
not clearly not now because it's a disaster it's a disastrous flop and they're not going to make another one. But if it had been a success, do you think that that was the intent?
I think no, I don't think that was the intent. And I think that they weren't thinking about that at the time. I don't think they were. I think they wanted to have another person along with Indy, who was not a love interest, I guess, to
It's
work with
odd
him.
that they didn't bring his son back though, you know, and just sort of like offed him off. We can talk spoilers, can't we?
Yeah.
Because I
Well,
already just
everybody
have.
knows that
Sorry.
that's happened to, you're
Yeah,
right.
to Matt. Yeah, you know. So why did they do that? I mean, I saw someone asking that question. Well, because the actor that plays him is a complete lunatic. Well, yeah, but you know, you could have had a different actor because it is like 15 or 20 years later. It's the 60s now, isn't it, or whatever it is. So 15 years later.
You make a good point, and Bonzo says, if it were me, yes, we are asking you. That's why we're doing this show, Bonzo. I would have had Harrison doing an interview about past adventures while a younger guy do. Yeah, that could have been fun to see. You know, Tom Cruise would have signed up to do it, right? He's 80 people, nothing lasts forever. Yeah, I agree.
Which makes me wonder where we stand on CGI in classic characters in order to prolong their lives. Because from what I've heard, the best part of this film is the beginning part where it's an Indiana Jones movie, and then it becomes something different with young Harrison Ford. Do you think that's a good thing? We should continue doing that. We've done it with Indy. We've done it with Luke. Um, is that a path we should go down, or is that a path we should not go down? What do we think?
I think it's fine. I think they can refer back to his younger days as many times as he wants, because goodness knows, when you speak to older people, they do that all the time. You know, they talk about when they were young and the different things they've done, and they want people to listen to their stories and listen to them. So
Yeah,
why
but
not?
would you watch an Indiana Jones movie set in 1944 with a CGI face Harrison Ford, but knowing it was another actor, but you know they're saying no, this is really Indiana Jones. This is actually happening. See, you know, because people will say, well, you know, you can just recast it. But how cool would the original cut of Solo, have been if it had been actually Harrison Ford in, you know, like young Harrison Ford? Because I can do it. I mean, I remember that when they did it with Tony Stark and, you know, Robert Downey Jr. in one of those Iron Man movies when he was all skinny and, you know, in his sort of drug phase. But they did a really, you know, it was like, wow, that's amazing. That's so amazing. The de aging was, or the CG, whatever, if it was de aging, or I think it must have been another guy because he was so thin, wasn't he? But yeah, brilliant. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it because, you know, I mean, wouldn't we all have to see a new Bruce Lee movie, for example?
Well, if it's a good movie, I'd watch it. And last night we were talking about, well, I was talking about the different elements that make a good movie, and that what's very distinctive about a good movie versus a mediocre one is that it's deficient in one of those elements. You know, like it'll be deficient in writing, or it's deficient in CGI, or it's deficient in the performances of the actors. But if once they get everything together, which is hard work for the studio to do, then you have a successful film. But a lot of times, a lot of the things we're seeing, there's some kind of deficiency. And a lot of people could argue that the deficiency here could be in the story itself, that it
Hmm.
wasn't as strong as it could have been. And, aside from the performances of the other actors outside of Indy, he could have had a better story. So,
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because the film is how long? 2.5 hours?
yeah.
That's fucking, I don't know how many pages that is. That's a lot of script pages, right? How many minutes is that? I don't know, 60 and 60, 120,
100 and yeah, maybe 120 pages. Yeah, because it's
120, that's 120 plus another,
wow.
I don't know. So it's going to be like 160 pages, something like that. So that's a lot. That is a lot of of time you've got to make a good story here, right? So as these films seem to be getting longer and longer and longer, they seem to be getting shittier and shittier and shittier. Maybe there's something to be said for sort of paring things down a little bit to a tighter movie and release that stuff on DVD. That used to be kind of the point of it, didn't it? Like the whole thing was you'd go to the cinema and you'd watch like the cinema cut, and then you'd be all excited because you knew the director cut was going to be coming out and the ultimate edition was going to be coming out, and you'd buy all of that stuff. That was all part of the fun. I don't know. How can you I'm saying this because I had to do a savage cut on this short project I'm writing. It was savage. I was like, I don't know. I was literally I was sat this morning crying. I just like, what? I don't. How am I going to do this? But I almost did it. I got to within a page of what my client asked me to do. So they wanted 10, and I gave them 11. So we'll have to see. But yeah,
No, it's something to think about, and it a lot of it has to do with what happens at the end after you've savagely cut up something and the integrity of the story. It is a consideration, Russ, and it's something to think
well,
about.
I don't think it's with this in the case of this short. It's because I was running on way too long. Like I'd given them like 17 or 18 pages, and I was like, it's too much. But I wanted to sort of flesh the story out, and then it was a question of like, what can I lose, and how can I get it down to 10 pages? But equally, my favorite example, as you know, of savagely cutting something when it was locked. So there's two. So this is part of the writing process. What I'm doing now is trying to get the thing down. And what you're saying is something slightly different. It's when something's savaged in the edit, when you've got the complete film, and then it's just sort of chopped to pieces and doesn't make any sense. And those are two kind of different things. My point here is if you've got like 170 pages to play with, you should be able to just do everything you want and make it all awesome, and not because you've got that luxury of all of that time, and you've got plenty of time to set up, and you've plenty of time for character development and character moments and all of those things that we all supposed to love. But people are just complaining more and more and more about the length of movies and saying that the quality of said movies is not as good as once it was. So I don't know. I wish I knew the answer.
Well, it is interesting thing to talk about, Russ, and it is something that is important. Thomas says, I would have loved to have seen a Jackie Chan in Mission Impossible. I would have loved that too. And Darth Plato talks about promoting Phoebe. Yeah, she was already a huge star. So, she doesn't need this film. She should have already been getting films of her own. This is how I feel about her. I'm not a big fan of her as an actress. However, she is a great actress, and she doesn't need this franchise. She doesn't need any of this. Um, I think they're going to promote her regardless as to whether she's in Indiana Jones or not, because she might be kind of the it girl right now. So, but she doesn't need this movie, and the movie doesn't need her either, as far as I'm concerned. Um, Stubble says creators should read Aristotle's Poetics. Then they'd know that character and story is more important than spectacle. Spectacle is least important for enjoying movies, but it's often what sells the movie.
Stubble, I'm not going to lie, man. Most of those writers probably think that Aristotle's Poetics is some cool new coffee house in downtown LA that they all have to go to, having read that, Oh, yeah, Jamin's back. Hey, man.
Hey, Jamin D, how are you? Good to see you. Hope you are well, Jamin D. So glad that you are here. rumor has it that this is according to Bonzo. Phoebe was going to do a streaming show sequel to Indy. Yeah, maybe. Who
Maybe.
knows? So be it. She could, even if she wasn't in the film, they could have booked her to do it, and it would have been just as good. I don't think she needed to be in the film. I don't think she needs it. I don't think she needs the Indy franchise. I have a feeling, regardless as to how the Indy franchise turns out, she's going to get other offers. She's successful already, and she's going to get offers. I would want to cast her in a film if I were making a film. I think she's a great actress. So, that's.
Is she in danger of falling into the Taylor Kitsch, Sam Worthington category of someone that Hollywood desperately wants to happen and just isn't? Because you can say all this about her as an actress. Actually, the two sort of tentpole Disney films that she's been in have both lost money now. So she was in Star Wars once we solo story as the robot, and that was the first Star Wars to lose money. Now she's in and she had a hand in the screenplay of that. She had a hand in the screenplay of this and starred in this, and this has completely bombed. And it's a shame. This is what happened to Taylor, right? Like he was in all these films, and they just kept not quite working out, and the same with Worthington. So I wonder, because as I say, I'm getting my information secondhand from other channels, so I don't know for sure.
Well, I think that Phoebe, whether she does the writing stuff or not, like if she does treatments for stuff, that's kind of a slippery slope when you're not only doing treatments for films, but now all of a sudden you're also a star in it. Like I feel like it's a conflict of interest.
Yeah,
Because
well, I don't know. I mean, you say that. Look at Stallone. He writes and stars in his own things. Who knows? Who knows? I just wonder about Disney, and they seem to be not. They're not struggling, are they? They're not short of a few quid. Let's just put it that way. But it's more the zeitgeist. It's less about the financials and more about the zeitgeist with these Disney projects that I feel has shifted somewhat. Not even just in the sort of like anti-woke brigade, but just in general. Like I was chatting to someone on Reddit about this a little while ago, and they was, I was saying, I just think this Marvel thing's like coming to an end, and they was, here are the facts, here are the figures. You're just a hater, and it's like, I'm not just a hater, but the zeitgeist just seems to have moved on. And I say that about Star Wars, and I'll say that about Marvel, and clearly Indiana Jones as well. It just doesn't seem to have had the impact as once it would have had. I remember when Crystal Skies came out, it was like a huge deal. Of course, it got castigated by segments, but it was a big deal when it came out. And this one just doesn't see. It seems to have come and gone, and it lost its #1 place, didn't it? After a week, which was, I mean, I can imagine having spent something like $400 million on it, that the people at Disney are just saying, well, where did it all go wrong, guys? Because Ant-Man lost money, and our films are not being as well received, and even the trades now are starting to say, look, you should probably sell Lucasfilm that somebody actually knows what they're doing with it, because this sort of 10-year tenure or 15-year tenure has been an absolute disaster. It's been an unmitigated disaster. Even if you want to talk about, yes, it made money, or it didn't make money, or it was profitable, but in terms of the brand and Star Wars' place in the zeitgeist, it's been a disaster. And it ain't getting any better with Indiana Jones if you look at the financials. So I don't know.
Well, I was going to say, I agree with you with Stallone, but how many actors fall into that category, Russ?
Oh, well, he's a genius, I suppose. I was just being, I suppose I was being a bit.
And I think I also want to mention that it's good that you brought him up anyway, because he proves that it's not easy to do that.
Oh yeah, it was his birthday the other day as well. I think he's 77.
And one other thing that I was going to say about him is that for he didn't have to do this, but the character kind of demanded that he do this. He's another individual, another man who's older, who's kept himself in shape. And
But he uses roids. He does use roids. He uses human growth hormone, and he's been very open about it, because he got busted with it once, and he just came out and they said to him, "Well, how do you look so good at your age?" And he said, "Well, this is what you get for 4 hours in the gym every day for most of your life, and human growth hormone. So he does use it. I mean, there's no point in denying it. And I get, but it's not like me, going onto the dark web and typing in human growth, like getting a vial or something and sticking it in a needle up my bum, because, Stallone's got the money to employ doctors and nurses and people who are going to give him exactly the right dose and monitor him while he's doing all this stuff. So a little bit different.
This is very true. However, in his early days, let's say even if he was using whatever he was using, he chose to write a character that required that the character be physically fit. And so he would not only be an actor who's acting, in, let's say, a drama, because he himself has said it's not a boxing movie, it's a love story or drama or whatever.
Correct. He's quite correct. It's sports drama, isn't it? It's not really about the boxing so much as what the boxing represents. But sorry, I keep cutting you off. I apologize.
It's okay. He's acting in this drama, but he chose one of the most difficult roles to play, which is a boxer, where you're going to see his body and his conditioning, and then he has to perform as if he were a boxer. It's not easy to do this. So, he kind of, I'm not going to say he set himself up, but it was maybe one of the hardest roles to write for yourself. I'm going to write a role for myself as an Olympic gymnast. He might as well have said that. And then you're going to have to do all these Olympic gymnast stuff. Like, it's remarkable that he could do that. Certainly a very different and unique situation.
Well, maybe I'll get some acting lessons and I'll write a screenplay for Nathan Trujillo where what is he wanting me to do? Hang off a cliff or something like that, and I'll put myself in it as a 50-something-year-old man hanging off a cliff. So I'm no Tom Cruise. I've got dodgy shoulders, so I'd probably fall off, but that would suck.
You'll have a tether, but you'll be like, "What am I doing up here?"
Why doesn't Nathan Trujillo want me to write like, a story with myself in it where both Pamela Anderson and Angelina Jolie fall in love with me at the same time and agree to cohabit? Why can't that be the thing? Why does it have to be me hanging off a cliff? Why can't it be that one, Nathan?
You want to be in that one, and I want to star in the sequel to what's her name's Joan Collins is, I think it was Bitch and Whore.
The Stud and the Bitch.
I want to star in the sequel to The Bitch 2 and The Stud Part 2. So
God, they were so racy at the times. But I remember because there's like this shot of Joan Collins and you can see her, it's like a full frontal, and it was full on, it was full on 70s full frontal as well, if you know what I mean. I remember that being like a massive deal. And then Oliver Tobias goes running out of the swimming pool and you can see his willy and all that sort of thing. Like, it was a massive deal. I bet if you watched it back now, it'd be so cheesy and so tame.
And she was in her 40s, and they make it a big deal about her being nude in her 40s. And she's like, well, I have no problem with nudity. She was still had a beautiful body, which she, for a very long time, she still had a fantastic physique. So she was fine with it. But, I think they were like, well, we only, it might have been like a little ageism thing. But I was like, good for her. I think that those films are fun. They're entertaining. People want to see stuff like that.
I wonder, my whole conspiracy theory thing has gone wild now. Do you reckon her sister said, well, if you want to make the film, my sister's got to be in it?
Yes, I did. And I'm glad she did. And I wish I had a circumstance like that. I'd be like, yeah, I got to be in the film. That's how it is. Joan went to RADA. So she's proved herself. She can act. She's not, she can do roles.
But her sister wrote those 2 novels.
Yeah, I know Jackie.
Jackie. That's it. Yeah.
Them. And however, what I'm trying to say is she legitimately recommended a woman who she understood very well, her sister. And I think that perhaps, that was the perfect person to play that role. And Joan's personal life was a little rocky with some of her marriages. So maybe she was kind of the perfect person to play that role. And I feel like it was a precursor, although maybe a more raunchy one, to her Dynasty days.
Dynasty.
Yeah. So I want to see the sequels to those made, or that for me, I'd want to be the star in something like that. So if you're going to have your Pamela Anderson, I would love to see that. Actually, I would love to see that.
Still number one, Arum. She's still number one as far as.
But you've got to wear your Don Johnson linen. You've got to have those.
I'll grow my hair out some more, shall I?
You're already blonde, but like that Don Johnson white linen suit with the loafers, slip-on loafers, and the car.
This is Miami, pal.
That's right. That's right. So Mike Alito says, I'm a promoter of Sebastian Stan playing Luke, but they, then again, I like watching Sebastian Stan.
How
He's
good was he in talking
remarkable.
to Pam? How good was he in Pam and Tommy? He was fucking
Great.
brilliant in that. Like, what a performance. But again, if you think, how old is Sebastian Stan now? Probably 34, 35. He's already aging out. Like, these guys have got such a limited shelf life. But yeah, he would be fine.
Absolutely. And Outcast Creative, Lance says, I don't know anyone who wants to see a Weeby Fowler Bridge indie show streaming or otherwise. Yeah, but she will get more work. That's for sure. In fact, she might be the one person other than Harrison Ford in that movie who's definitely going to get more movie deals. So I think she's, she didn't need the indie thing. I don't know why they wanted her in there, but she really didn't need it. That's how I see it, Lance. I don't know how you see it. Bonzo says there's something ghoulish about trying to keep old deceased actors around. They did a good job of bringing back some entertainers in Blade Runner 2049. There's a casino scene,
Mm.
and they have this sort of likeness of Elvis, and they have
Elvis.
likeness of Marilyn Monroe looks stunningly beautiful in it. And I thought it was very interesting that they did that. Anna de Armas is a young woman, and then they had her do sort of, she was the hologram in some parts, and she looked beautiful in that. I think they did a great job. I think what they can do, if done in the right way, they didn't pound us over the head with the casino scene. This kind of flashes in and out. You get a little glimpse of it, you know what it is. They just want to give you a hint, a feeling, an impression of something, and sometimes an impression is good enough. Thomas Bartoli, I think people have been doing this, right? Tom Jr. Jackson's been doing a little bit. He's got his AI stuff that he does, and he's creating, someone did that picture of Rob all buff and manly in that thing. I was like, I've got to get a poster, a 70s style poster, but he needs a gold chain. He needs a gold chain on the chest. That's how you would Mikey Lido says,
Fuck, Rob de-age me. Yeah, nice one. I'll take that too, Mikey.
we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, we have filters in Facebook and on this device. What if there's something that we can wear in the future where we have a filter and people only see us as young people? Wouldn't that be something? I mean, that could be a very interesting futuristic invention.
Well, once we're all plugged into whatever verse with our cyber implants in our brains, and we're all sitting in our houses as couch potatoes, we can look like whatever we like in the internet world. What's that? Because what are them things? People are getting freaked out about the goggles now that you can have. I forget what they're called now. The Apple glasses or whatever they are. And
Mhm.
conspiracy theorists are starting to worry about those. But I digress.
Stubble says if they wanted to make more indie after, then they should have flashbacks with another actor. Old indie trying to solve a mystery, and it would be informed by flashbacks where another actor portrays
There
young.
you go, Stubble. That's it. Indiana Jones, the next one. Do that. That would be much better than this one, wouldn't it? It'd be better received than this one, I reckon. You've nailed it, man. That's an awesome pitch. That is an awesome pitch right there. That's how you do an elevator pitch. Perfect.
And Mike Alito says that opening set piece with Ford and Toby Jones was fantastic. The de-aging worked really well, and they never used it again after that. My goodness. Okay, fair enough. And yeah, I was going to say, Tom Jr. Jackson says Mission Impossible 7 is 2 hours and 43 minutes. Still not a problem for me. I don't eat or drink during the film.
Yeah, and I bet it's brilliant though. That's the there you go. Isn't this a weird thing, right? If you compare Mission Impossible 7, is it 7? Did I get that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Compared to Indiana Jones 5, it feels to me like people, there's sort of like a sense of dread going into watch Indiana Jones 5. It's like, oh god, how shit is this going to be? Whereas with Mission Impossible 7, we're still excited, and
Yeah.
there's a difference there, isn't there? There's a difference in those Tom Cruise movies and whatever Disney's doing. I don't. Maybe it's just our fandom. Maybe it's just our fandom. But I just find, you're going to go and watch in a couple of years' time. We'll be on Mission Impossible 8 or whatever it is, the last one or whatever coming out. Imagine that was coming out at the same time as Star Wars. Of course, it won't, because they won't want the Ray movie I'm talking about. you're going to go and watch the Ray movie and you're going to be going, please just don't let it be a catastrophe. But you're going to go and watch the end of Mission Impossible thinking, I've got to see it. It's going to be the greatest end to a cinematic franchise of all time, which is what you wanted out of Star Wars, because that was the greatest cinematic franchise of all time. And they completely, what do they say? They didn't stick the landing.
They didn't stick the landing, and
Philosophy with Russ 101 on Sunday. Sorry, I'll shut up. There you go.
no, that's we're here to hear this. I think that they started off portraying him as somebody that he isn't. And so, this whatever character this is, it's not Indiana Jones for me. But I watched it and I still, like that vision of him in his boxer shorts is still ingrained in my mind because I'm kind of looking at all the movies that Harrison Ford has appeared in without a shirt. And like I just in my mind, they're all in here, Russ.
Sure, I bet they are replayed over and over again many times. But you made an interesting sort of side comment there, Rita. You said it's sort of not the Indiana Jones character. It's not Indiana Jones. It's like some other guy. And I think the critics, and you know who I'm talking about from different streams and all the rest of it. That's the one thing that I think that they have absolutely got right about this. And this is almost becoming a Disney trope at this point, whereas you take the characters that they were. Oh, it's Annie. Um, that they were, and then they completely sort of deconstruct them and make them less than what they were. And there's kind of two arguments to that. Like, if I looked at myself in my 30s or my 20s, and I compare the guy then to the guy now, yes, that's a different person, but the personality traits that I have are still there. Some would say to my fucking detriment, to be fair, but nevertheless, I'm pretty much the same guy, but different. So there's room for growth, but it almost seems to have become a trope at this point with Disney to take an established character that you like, and now all those actors are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s in some cases, and they're always completely washed up and fucking useless, and they hate their lives, and all they want to do is they want to die, right? And that happened with Luke, it happened with Han, it happened with Indy. Whereas with Mission Impossible, he's still full of life. He still wants to go. Yeah, no, I've been fighting this battle since the 90s, you bastards, and I'm still going to jump off aeroplanes and bikes and all the rest of it. And yeah, that's what I think.
Well, Rogue Thinker says, I can't believe they introduced a character to kill him off and give him a connection to the female lead of the movie when they had so many legacy characters to work with.
Yeah, we said this earlier on, Rogue, like his son. Like you had that guy, and okay, like everyone, I remember people claiming about the actor was not well, or if that was just being snide against the bloke because I don't like him. I don't know. I mean, I know he's a little bit out there, old Shire, but who knows? But if you want to recast him, then recast him. Why does it have to be? Yeah, and here's someone new that you don't know or care about. It's never been introduced before, but you're supposed to accept her and all of her traits and all of her foibles, and we're all going to get it out the way at once, and that's her movie. Which is what I've read or been told anyway.
Yeah, and Nathan says, I think people just like to complain because negativity gets attention. It
Boom.
does.
Yes, it does. Yes, it absolutely does. And I've said this on here before, and I'll say it again. Sometimes I think that the critics of the woke are just as hysterical as the woke. And I've heard them say many times, no. We want things to be good. We want things to be good. And I'm like, do you really? Do you though? Because the reactions to everything these days seems overwhelmingly negative, which is why we started this fucking channel in the first place. It's called Positive Fandom for a reason.
It is. And, we have differing opinions, but, we kind of do stay away from the negative, but we have differing views. And, nobody's right or wrong here. We're just enjoying what we like to talk about.
Exactly.
We're not putting anybody on trial or anything like that. Mark Spector's Avatar says, I'd rather they make a new young Indiana Jones show for Disney Plus. Yeah, I would like that.
I'll tell you what, though, RM, if they put the Snyderverse on trial, I'd go on there and tear them a new one. I really would. Me and Darth Plato, we go on there.
Wow.
I'd give them a fight. And Mario. Because I know what I'm on about.
Always defend the classics, especially the classic philosophers. Certainly, there's a lot to be learned from them as well. So, something I also want to say, which is very interesting. they're making movies. They're not making movies. They're making the world a better place. Well, yeah, that's the whole trope about having a theme, but or a message. But it's okay to have a message because people have been making movies with messages all the time. But there's usually a story that's good behind it. And if you don't have that good story, the message is completely irrelevant. It just sounds like, as I said, a public service announcement, and no one wants to hear those.
Mm.
Now, another thing that I wanted to mention, Russ, has to do with another story that has to do with Dune. Um, Now, you saw Dune, the most recent Dune. Did you enjoy Dune last year? I think it was is when it came out. Um,
I did, but I never read the books, or I might have read them in the 80s. No, I don't think. Maybe I tried to read them. I can't remember if I read them or not, which means I probably didn't actually. And maybe I did what Rob did and ordered them from a book club and then just put them down. So yeah, I enjoyed the film for what it was, but I think, yeah, so would I, Irene. I definitely tap Angelina Jolie. Am I allowed to say that online? Well, I've said it now. Shit,
yeah,
don't
you
sue me,
can.
Angelina.
Yes, you can. You can
Um,
do that.
I think I would have got more out of it, out of June, if I'd have known the law. And I think that film had to do a lot of heavy lifting in terms of getting us up to speed. But I thought Oscar Isaacs was brilliant.
Okay. I did enjoy Timothy Chalamet in it. I think he's very interesting. Um, I think originally the particular screenplay that they had different actions for some of the people in it, and I would have liked to have seen it done a little differently. But for what it was, for this film, which had incredible effects, which had to be done by CGI, like they had to be CGI effects. It was remarkable looking, and
Hmm.
it was a very different experience than the 1984 or whatever year that version was. Very, very different experience. So it did stand out, and it really looks very good. I know people said that the TV series was also very good, but I'm looking forward to this next one. I'm not really necessarily interested in watching the film standalone. I think if it is going to be a trilogy, I might hold off and just watch it as a trilogy because I want to get that experience and at least the vision that Delneuve, who I'm imagining is the same person who directed the first one. I want to see his vision that way. But she talks about Dune is nothing compared to part two. It's unreal. I don't really like when actors put down work they've been in, versus another piece. It should be if this adds on to it or but to say it's nothing, maybe that's out of context. Maybe she didn't actually say that. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think it should just be, we established the beginning of the story, and now we're going to get more into what happens after that, and go further versus saying, one is not that. This kind of implies it's not very, you don't even really need to even see the first one. Stubble says these old franchises are over 40 years old. When I was a kid, I wouldn't care much about franchise based in Casablanca. Now I think it could be interesting with a series set in Rick's Cafe.
You say that, Stubble, but if you think back to the 70s, right? You had Flash Gordon in the 30s and 40s, and then they brought him back in a movie, and you had Buck Rogers, and he was on the television. So maybe not the genre, but I think there is interest in those old. Well, clearly there is, but I see where you're going with the Rick's Cafe. Yeah.
And Bonzo says, Russ, we told you to write yourself into a movie with the stunt lady you like so much, but your honor wouldn't allow it. And the Outcast creator says the stud and the bitch have definitely not aged well. Yeah,
That could
it's
be actually. Do you know what, Rita? That could be. They could be talking about us.
oh my gosh, Lance, how did you know? Um, yeah, and we listen to it both ways. The Outcast creative, you make a good point. Um, let's see. Also, check out the Outcast Creative YouTube channel here. It's in the chat. So make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the Outcast Creative, which is celebrating their anniversary. Certainly do check them out. But you know something? Yeah, she is a very sweet person. That's and a very talented actress. So so there is that. I think
Yeah, but
that
her agent's useless because they don't write back to you. It's really annoying. Just saying. Sorry.
well, it says Rebecca Ferguson is teasing Dune Part 2 and saying the sequel surpasses the first film. And she said it's so effing good. I get emotional about it because I love Denny and I love Grieg and I love the team. But dude, number one is phenomenal and big and grandiose. And then you go close ups and imagery and acting. Yeah, it's all great. It's effing nothing compared to number two. Number two is like effing gut punch. It's unreal.
So yes, a little bit out of context. She's just raving about how awesome these films are and
Yes.
good. You know, it's not an original property, but it's certainly an original movie, if that makes any sense. Like it's really old, and there was the 1980s and the 1990s versions of it, but it did feel fresh. It felt different to anything else I'd seen before, and I really liked it. I'd love to if I get it on. I wonder if it's got a director's commentary. Does anybody know if it's got a director's commentary? Because I really should get hold of it. But yeah, unique. And if this one's gonna, it has to sort of top it because that first movie really just felt like what it was, the intro. You know, now we're getting into the meat of the story, and I suspect it will be a longer movie, asking a lot more of us as an audience. But I kind of like that, so we'll see. But the first one was great. I shall, Bonzo. I shall.
And so that is something very interesting. Here, Rogue Thinker, let's see, says Phoebe got 20 million per year for 3 years from Amazon to create possibly something, but actually nothing.
That's the
Then
job
they
I want.
renewed her contract. She doesn't need any more roles. Yeah, she doesn't need anything. She's very, very successful. She's making a lot of money. So, you know, she doesn't need anybody to promote her. She doesn't need that. Like, she doesn't need it. She's fine. You know, she can do whatever she likes. So I kind of think to myself, there are other actors who are earlier in their careers who do need promotion. And it would be great to kind of see them back some of these younger actors. That's just my opinion. And of course, just wrapping up the Dune thing, they say the sequel, their characters are huge and important. They're going to be new characters introduced by Butler. I'm assuming it's Gerard Butler, and walk in something that has Ferguson excited. And the characters are huge and important. They are emperors and they are princesses. They are brutal killers. They are gory. Wow, is this going to be gorier than what we've seen, Russ? Do you think?
Hopefully so. You know, I wonder again if this is where certain franchises are running into trouble, aiming these things at a younger audience, and perhaps what Stubble was alluding to earlier on. Maybe the younger audience doesn't give a shit, and they should be catering to the older audience, to the neckbeards and the man babies and all the rest of it who do support the project. And I've been that is a drum I've beaten for many years. I remember even when I was young, when the Star Wars came out, the new Star Wars, I said, this is a mistake. This is a mistake. Don't make it for children. Make it for the people that grew up with it. And I think those films would have been better received and more loved now, even than they were. Because they're more loved now than they were then, but they weren't well received at the time. But if they'd have been 15 and 18 certificates, appealing to the audience that grew up with Star Wars, I think they would have done better. But that's just a theory, a fan theory.
It's a good theory. And Russ, Tom has been asking me to send you this photograph of Robert. I asked, I was going to see if I could get the guy who made it, Align, to make a picture of me like this, you know, obviously as a woman, not as a man. So I'll see what's going to happen with that. But you guys are talking about popcorn. I love this.
Oh, there's my glasses. I was looking for my glasses.
All right. And you should have it now. You know, it's going through, it's going all the way across the sea.
That's pretty sweet. Yeah, that's really funny. Is that a tattoo he's got on him? Yes. Yeah, a tattoo and a medallion. Cool.
It looks
Yeah, no,
like
I got it. I got it. I got it here.
I can't stop the reflection because I can't stop the reflection just because I have to turn off the lights to do that. But so I asked, I don't know if he's going to do it, but I sent him some photographs of me. I said, Alon, go ahead and make a photograph like me, but as a woman, obviously. So the Outcast Creative is excited for Dune, of course, and so is Retro Nerd Girl. A lot of people, like I
I
said,
saw the trailer actually. You remind me. Yes, I did. I saw the trailer. It does look good.
It does. It does. So let's see how it turns out. Certainly, uh, Irene said she's fell asleep. I imagine you must be exhausted though, Irene, because you are a very busy lady. Um, yes, maybe and yeah, it does look good, doesn't it, Retro Nerd Girl? So the last thing I was going to talk about today, Russ, and before I say I want to talk about anything else, Russ, is there anything that you want to talk about before we wrap up the show?
Um, no, I thought we were going to touch on that film that knocked Indiana Jones off the number one
Yes,
spot, just because I couldn't believe I know Reddit is a cesspit, um, but I don't know how quite now how I'm going to say this. So, what does uh, the word Quebec start with? RM. What letter does it start with?
I'm not going to say that organization, but let's just say
Right.
an organization that starts with
We're going to say Quebec, right? So the
yeah,
Quebec organization.
yes.
People on Reddit have sort of come out and said that this is some sort of like Quebec organization film, and I'm just like, what? Because it just doesn't cater to your. It just doesn't cater to you. It's not banging the drum that you want it to. And of course, if a film doesn't do that, it's instantly, from the people from Germany in the 30s. It's just like, this is retarded. I'm kind of glad it has knocked it off number one, if that's the sort of vehemence it's going to get from critics. Like critics literally attacking a film that came out was made in 2019, I believe. Sound of
Yeah,
Freedom.
and this is it's from a company. I think they're called Angel Company, or
Mhm.
production company that makes religious films. They're making one about Mother Cabrini. I'm really excited to see that one.
Oh, I didn't know. Is that what's got them bent out of shape? Because it's Christian funded.
I don't know if that's what got them out of shape. I think it has to do with the star of the film.
Yeah, well,
Uh,
he's a Christian as well, isn't he?
he is. Let's see what it said. I don't think it says anything about it in this film. Jim Caviezel.
Caviezel, yeah.
Yeah, and it has to do with something about him. Angel Studios, Jim Caviezel thriller Sound of Freedom. And that's the film that we're talking about. And this particular article may not actually have everything, but you said you saw it in Reddit, Russ.
Yeah, people were going nuts about it, saying it was a far right movie and it was all this and it was all that. But I mean, if it's because it's got Christian money behind it, then I instantly reject any single argument from the left about that, because that's the sort of thing that will just drive them nuts. If it's got a Christian guy in it and it's a Christian film, and that's not copacetic with them, well, then every single criticism of the film from you has now been made irrelevant as far as I'm concerned, because to literally come out and say it was like, the Quebec organization related, I was nearly sick in my mouth. I'm going to go and watch it now to support it.
Yeah, and it has to do with this. Unfortunately, what they're saying is that they're trying to discourage people from supporting it. However, Variety has said that Sound of Freedom, which where Jim Caviezel anchors a solidly made and disquieting thriller about child sex trafficking, because that's what it's about. It's a remarkable film, and I've seen quite a few clips of the film, and for me, I felt that the film really focuses on the problem in question, which is human trafficking. It's done fantastically. It knocked it's doing well in the box office, and it feels like a documentary to me
Mhm.
more than anything else. It's got kind of a free form way of making the story.
Do
So
we know? Do we know what the budget was?
no, I don't know. I'm
Mm.
sorry, I don't know anything about it.
Well, I can bet. I can bet
It wasn't
you
high. It was not a high budget.
it's not going to be 400 million. Is
No,
is
no,
is
no.
kind of my point. So for a film that's come out of nowhere with no backing, no huge ad campaign, no nothing,
14 million. No, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
40
Oops.
million.
I'm sorry. I'm misspeaking. I'm sorry,
Doesn't
guys. I
matter.
got
It's
excited.
not going to be 400 million. Is my point, and it's smashed it. It's done the job. Um, People seem to want those kind of stories now, and not these huge things. Maybe the mega blockbuster needs to not die, but certainly take a step back and allow, as you know, the drink has been saying this for years. Actually, he's been saying this for years. You know, we need sort of mid-budget films that the studios can take a risk on, and if it flops, all right, it didn't do well, but if it hits, like those horror movies often hit, the little movies that can, you know, you make a movie for $10 million and it makes $200 million, then you can go and do other things, and you can broaden your catalog. And you know, like the executives aren't sitting in the cars he's shitting themselves every time they're making a film because they had to spend $500 million in the hope that it will make $1.5 million back, and they're not doing it. The trend is starting to go backwards. So films like this, tell you what, I did watch last night, or half of it anyway. Started watching Kandahar with Gerard Butler in it. Gerard Butler and Travis Fimmel, him of Ragnar out of Vikings, is in it. And yeah, just an honest roll your sleeves up action movie set in Kandahar. Cars, bombs, explosions, intrigue, death, destruction, mayhem, nuclear bombs. Brilliant, loved it.
Yeah. I've got to watch Kandahar. I've got to see it, and I love Gerard Butler. He's smoking hot. He's always going to be smoking hot.
Do you know what? He looks a bit gnarly in this one. He's kind of like, oh, he could never look gnarly, but he's not his usual buff and chiseled self, and neither
Hmm.
is Frimmel for that matter. Especially Butler, because he's playing this kind of. He's obviously an operative and all the rest of it, but he's an undercover operative, and he kind of just looks dirty and grungy. I think you might quite like him, but he's not. He's not. This is Sparta Butler. Let's just put it that way.
Hmm. You know, he's done, you know, obviously 300. He's done that other movie where he was in a police precinct and they were like shooting. It was like a crazy amount of bullets, and uh, which was unusual.
Yeah. He was like a corrupt cop, wasn't he? Or are
And
you
then
talking about the one where he was in the prison?
I
He was
think it's
arrested.
the cop one, but he did that other one recently, and I watched that, and he was even in like a love story, I think, with Jennifer
Jennifer
Aniston,
Aniston, yeah, he was a
and I
footballer.
liked that a lot.
Mm.
Like that was pretty steamy. I think he really does keep your attention. He was also in the one where he had to kind of save the planet. There was one where he had to go to space. He gets on a spaceship, and so he's done a variety of things. And Plane. He was in Plane, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet. And he was also in Tomb Raider 2, where he got to kiss Angelina Jolie, and he got to be a Spartan. So, you know, he's not on my Christmas card listed, bastard. But there you go.
Well, he certainly has. You're giving the thumbs up for Kandahar, and I'm going to watch it, and certainly got to check it out. I think he's smoking hot. I was going to say this movie has been reviewed, and they've said overwhelmingly the Sound of Freedom movie prompts crucial call to action. God's children are no longer for sale, and also that you know, it's a human trafficking film, and it's been trashed by certain outlets for different reasons, but it's cleaning up the box office. It's cleaning up the box office, and it says it's is a reminder of Texas's disheartening role in human trafficking. Um, and another one says, "Why is the media ignoring it? A film about the child sex trade." It's getting a lot of not mixed reviews because it's bad. It's a hit. This is a hit. Um, I think that it's also going to be hard to watch because it's about child sex trafficking.
And it sounds to me like it's just a political hot potato, right? So the wokosos and the lefties are attacking it because it's going to address trafficking, illegal immigration, and all those things that are happening on the border of the United States that they don't want to they want to pretend that isn't happening. They just want to pretend, oh no, it's not real, it's not real. Whereas the other lot are saying, look, we've got all these people coming over. So that's what this fight. It's got nothing to do with this film at all. It's becoming increasingly obvious, and I haven't even read the articles, but just listening to what you're saying, it. As Stubble said earlier on, he's sick of the culture wars in the United States, and this seems just like a culture war hot button. Deals with Texas, deals with illegal migrants, deals with the trafficking of said illegal migrants that the left just wants to stick its fingers in its ears and say, no, no, it's not happening, it's not happening, it's not happening. It is happening. That's why they don't like it.
And
Simple as.
you're right. And I do want to say that Jim Caviezel is great in this. He looks good in this film. You know, I mean, obviously the nature of the film is a sad and unfortunate nature.
Mhm.
However, it's a story that does need to be told. And the film cost $14 million to do. I think it was crowdfunded. So far, it's made $38 million, and it's not showing any signs of stopping. It is Angel Studios. They're an American media company based in Utah. And as I said, they're making incredible films that I'm interested in. Of course, you know, maybe you guys aren't interested in things like this. I mean, I've watched on Turner Classic Movies, and even before I used to watch Turner Classic Movies, the Song of Bernadette, and you know, like the Our Lady of Fatima, things like that. If you like that sort of stuff, this company seems to make films like that. If you like stories that are focused on that sort of stuff. There's also The Chosen. Oh boy.
I was going to say I watched one of those films and it had Nicolas Cage in it. I don't think it was by this lot, but it was obviously it was sort of Christian funded movie about the end. What does they call it? When everyone disappears, the rapture. It was about the
Yes.
rapture, and Nick Cage was like an airline pilot or something like that, and everybody starts disappearing. Oh, it was sick. It was awesome. I loved it.
Yes, and yeah, the budget right now is 14 million for the film, and it says that it's made around 28 million. It's still making a lot of money. They have a biography of Mother Cabrini. They also have an animated adventure for David and Jacob. The story of Jacob is coming out. They also have another drama called His Only Son, a biblical drama. The budget was $250,000, but it has made $12 million. Um, you know, they
Case rested. There you go. Critical Drinker's quite right. That's exactly what they should be doing. You know,
exactly.
anything up to sort of 40 million, let's say 40, 50, because 50 million is still a lot of money, but it's nothing compared to 250, 300 million. And you can do exciting things with that, you know, especially with a $50 million budget. You could do all sorts.
And I do want to mention something about and thank you Bonzo for mentioning he played Jesus in Passion of the Christ, which I thought was one of the best, another religious film, and a great film. And you know, like we said here, well, there are Christians on the planet. Like I said, you know, it may not be everybody's favorite. We get that. And Retro Nerd Girl says the criticism might take it out of running for the Oscars. That's very astute, Retro Nerd Girl. Let's go ahead.
You know what, Retro? That's a political decision. That's not a quality decision, right? Which sucks, but you're quite right.
Retro Nerd Girl, when we do our Oscar shows next year, which you know, I want you to come onto my channel here on Positive Fandom, and we're going to do those Oscar countdowns and stuff. We're definitely going to talk about this film, Sound of Freedom. Darth Plato says human trafficking has been around since forever. Slavery is basically free energy, and you know, so it's not free, but there is a cost to it, right? So they mentioned how there are more slaves now, or people in bondage, which is what I normally would say. People in bondage in a number of ways, more than any other time in human history. The other thing I was going
Really?
to say,
Wow. Shit, I didn't know
yes,
that.
yes. And the other thing that I was going to say, Russ, is that, and I might get criticism for this, only men could go ahead and get this girl from bondage. This is only something a man could do. And I know that we've seen movies where women kind of do this sometimes, and I'm not buying the female aspect of a woman being able to go and hunt down somebody like this. I just don't buy it. I think men like this character that he plays. Maybe he's operator. Who knows? I don't know what his background is, but he's not an ordinary guy, right, Russ? It's not an ordinary guy.
No, I haven't seen it yet, but
But you know what I
I'm
mean.
100%, I'm 100% going to the cinema to watch it. I'm not going to do it illegally. I'm going to go support it.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it says he's a former government agent turned vigilante. He's not an ordinary guy. He's not an or he maybe he's a special forces, who knows? But you can't be an ordinary person and just do this. And it has to be a man doing this. I know that might sound somewhat sexist. I don't care. It's got to be a guy who can go in there and he has to use brute force in this. It's not going to be, well, I'm knocking on the door and they're just going to let me in. No, it can't be. If there has to be some physical pushback in this film. And you can see him standing there. You notice he does have a gun in his hand, I think, and they're holding the child who they've just rescued. But the point is that it has to show a realistic representation of how they get the children out. They have to fight to get them out. There's a fight, and that's something we need to see a man do, because this is what men do. So that I'm just put that out there. Russ, what do you think about that?
I think you're quite right. And look, we've had this conversation many times. That there's this sort of fantasy argument framed by certain segments that we don't like strong female characters, or we do like strong female characters, like the character in Chris Hemsworth film, the one we just watched.
Yes,
Extraction, right? Nick. She's a strong female character with a crucial role in the film. In fact, the film couldn't, he would not have survived the first movie without her. He would not have survived the second movie without her. And she can fight, and she can shoot, and she's very capable. And that's fine. But she's not invincible, indestructible, and and she makes mistakes, and she gets things wrong, because her character, no, he was Darth Plagueis was Caviezel in Saving Private Ryan. No, he was in The Thin Red Line, which is the other one that came out around about that time. Yeah. So why are you saying that? No, you're not denigrating women. You're just saying, oh, this is a man's job. Because what would happen to that woman if she got caught? Think about that. If she got caught by a bunch of human traffickers, she'd be in for a far worse time than a guy would, if you take my meaning, if that's the kind of line of work that they're in.
Right. And the human trafficking situation is something that's supported by a lot of individuals. It's not sort of just one person. It's a huge enterprise to do this. So it takes a lot of time and energy to kind of create this, promote this, and maintain human trafficking. And here in New York, according to the police in New York City, I think it's Corona, New York is the capital here in New York, in the New York State, for human trafficking. So wow. Apparently there is a lot of it going on in that area. And this is according to the New York City Police Department. It is not my statistic, but according to what they have found, and that's not too far from here. So we know it's happening in New York. That's not a shock here that it would be happening. They bring in people whatever way they can, either through the borders or through containers. And that's what's happening. But certainly here, Mario says, I hope that English-speaking people are aware that in the rest of the world, there is nothing like the cultural war you are suffering. And this is something that Jamin D and I we were talking about, right, Jamin D, the other day, about when people said that in this movie where let's say there's the white savior situation. Russ, you and I have talked about this too.
Mm-hmm.
And Jamin D's like, that's not a thing in India. It's not a thing. Like, that's not.
Yeah,
really...
That's right. We spoke about it last week. It's just, as I always say, it's the upper middle class liberal lefties who can afford to sneer at absolutely everything and that have no idea what life is actually like. They're the ones that, how dare they speak up for Indian people, or my mate Robbie down the road who's from Jamaica. Like, he's not sitting there crying into his beer when he's watching Extraction 2 going, well, you know what, Leslie, it's fucking racist because that should be a black. It's just invented nonsense. Yes, yo, Russ, let's bring back canon films. Yes, 100%, absolutely. The world needs some exploitation crap like that. And he says, Retro Nerd Girl, we need you too. Time for that mid-budget action genre to rise again. Isn't it just? And it seems to be. So you've got Extraction 2, you got Kandahar, you got Warhorse 1, and the one that's on Amazon that I keep forgetting the name of, that's a similar thing about getting the interpreter out of Afghanistan. So there's like 4. I just reeled them off right there. They're coming back.
Yeah, I hope so too. But for me, yeah, I think that would be great to see all of those action films come back, certainly. And also, the other thing I was going to say is, oh, I like the Oscars. Yes, you know, Retro Nerd Girl, we're going to be doing that again this upcoming year. Mario was like, oh, well, I enjoy them, Mario. So I do the review here on the channel. And it's part of the fun for me to enjoy it. Um, yeah. So Russ, you know, I think the other thing I was going to say finally is that um, we need to see more films like this. And there's a number of different organizations that thank you so much, Retro Nerd Girl. It was Tyler Rake.
There
Um,
you go.
there is a number of organizations that are fighting against human trafficking. And of course, Hollywood has been criticized, perhaps not for trafficking, but for different abuse issues regarding this. So that's another reason why I think, you know, they don't necessarily want to look at this because they'll have to look at themselves.
I
So
bet they
there's,
just hate it, don't they? Because they must be seething with fury. Thank you, Mighty Orbots. That's the one I was talking about, the Covenant. Thank you. They must be seething with fury because every time a film comes out that doesn't promote the message, as it's called, and it isn't what they want, it's doing real well. They must be seething with fury, especially because this is a Christian thing as well. I think it's quite funny. I'm definitely going to go. When Retro? When Retro's doing a special on Canon Films?
mhm.
When? I'll
Let
be
us
there
know,
for.
Retro Nerd Girl.
Yeah, if it's on at a reasonable time, I'll drop into the chat for sure.
All righty. So let's see if I'm waiting for her to respond because I know she's there. Uh, Russ, we have reached the 2 hour mark. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we close the show?
Yes, one last thing, and this is going to be brief. So recently, Gal Gadot, or Gal Gadot, I should say, is at a Netflix thing, and she's asked about Wonder Woman, and she said, "Look, yeah, there are things going on behind the scenes. Now there are rumors that Man of Steel, BVS, and ZSJL are going to start streaming on Netflix. So of course, all of the Acolytes are now we're like dogs at the slip. We just can't wait because obviously, if it goes onto Netflix, then I'll do what I did with the Snyder Cut and just sit there. You know, while I'm at work, I'll just put the films on and just keep playing them over and over and over and over and over again. And hashtag sell ZSJL to Netflix, sell the Snyderverse to Netflix.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to continue. I don't know why people thought it wasn't going to. I think that there's a lot, many more stories to be told, even beyond the movies. I think we're going to see something for perpetuity,
Mm.
and people will still be interested in it, which is great. That's the type of stuff I like to see, people enjoying, you know, let's say a version of it um, in one spot, even in Netflix, and then of course whatever else comes out on Netflix,
Oh,
which is going
God,
to be
would I just
amazing.
I can almost that cup of victory wine would just be so good. Like I just want it to they just just finish the story. It's two
Mhm.
movies, guys. Come on. Like fuck come on.
I
Have
have a
we
feeling
all
it's going to be finished, and I have that feeling of confidence more than ever before,
well,
Russ.
let's see how Rebel Moon does, and if Rebel Moon's a smack, because that's going to go on repeat as well. I always do this for Zack Snyder movies. I just when he did Army of the Dead, I just left it playing and playing and playing and playing because I'm a fan.
And so, thank you, Stubble, for the super chat earlier. I appreciate it. Thank you, Irene, as well, for that super chat. Yes, I'm still billowing, and Mikey Lito as well. Thank to the three of you for your generosity here. And I also want to mention it's this Friday, and it's a 3-part series,
Yeah, but
Russ.
what time?
What time will that be at, Retro Nerd Girl? Um, let us know. And I know you're going to pop that in there, guys. Yes, it's been 2 hours, Nathan. So it is time for us to end the show. Um, and yes, there's a movie there. Uh huh. There is. There is something.
Escaping the Snyderverse. There is no escape from the Snyderverse.
That, guys, thank you for watching Sunday Brunch Live. Russ, where can people find you?
Usually here, or you can find me at russellwhitfield.com and drop me an email. But more importantly, where can people find you, RM?
Oh, well, guys, you can always find me here on Positive Fandom, where I do all the parlay and the fandom, obviously, for the Sunday brunch show today at 10:30, which we're watching right now. It's at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, Russ.
Nice one.
Um,
A bit late for me,
guys, make
unfortunately.
sure you check that out as well for Retro Nerd Girl on Friday for her Canon Films Part 1 of 3 on Retro Nerd Girl's channel at 3 p.m. Eastern Central Standard Time. Guys, you can also find me streaming live gaming shows here, right here on Positive Fandom. So please do like and subscribe for that, as well as my live watch parties for Outlander on Fridays at 8 p.m. with Lorena Creole. So I would appreciate if you do that, as well as my live watch parties with Darth Plato on Thursdays at 6:15 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be looking at 8 Men Out. So I've got a lot of things going on there, but I also have a lot going on the Burnettwork, as you know. Monday night is going to be Ladies of the PGS, where I'm going to be talking about topics that are current. Certainly can't wait to do that. I also have a show with Lorena, Toxic Male Appreciation, on her Twitch channel at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday. So that's coming up. And of course, guys, at 10 p.m. on Fridays, I also have my show where I work with Julie Mishkin on PGS Treks, where we talk about the latest Trek news, and then, of course, musings at midnight. So please do check me out there, guys. Please do like and subscribe to this channel. So appreciate all of your support, guys. I so appreciate it. Mario says thank you for the great conversation. Thank you,
Cheers,
Mario.
Mario.
Here. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thanks so much. It means so much to me to see you guys once a week like this. Thank you, Russ, as always.
Only a pleasure.
So appreciate it. Retro Nerd Girl says, have a great day, everybody. I had such a blast watching the show today. Great conversations. It was great. Thank you, Retro Nerd Girl, of course, as well. So appreciate you all. Thank you, Tom Jr. Jackson. Tom Jr. Jackson, we are all goof people. Thank you so much for your support with everything. Thalia Oswell, good morning. Thank you to RM and Russ. Have a great Sunday. And Bonzo, have a great week. Mighty Orbit says cheerio. And guys, remember, no matter where you are out there in the galaxy, always remember to please be kind.
And sell the Snyderverse to Netflix. Bye, guys. Thank you so much.